Well, everyone, hello and welcome to Facebook Live. We are in the Mechatronics Lab. I didn't say Megatronics, I said Mechatronics because it's totally different. But welcome to Facebook Live, everybody. It looks a little different than what you normally would see here at KSU for our Facebook Live. Normally we're in the suite. We got these cool chairs that we're sitting in, but we're actually in probably the coolest space at Kennesaw State University, and we're in our Mechatronics Lab. I've got some friends here who are experts in this field, and so they're gonna tell us a little bit more. We'll get into that. We'll do some news from the nest. We'll take your questions, and of course we are socially distanced. We got our mask on. We got our KSU representative mask. It's awesome. So once again, I'm Jacinta Luster. I'm the manager of admissions for special populations, and I have my two guests here, and they're gonna go ahead and introduce themselves. So, Ben?
I am Ben Johnson. I'm a sophomore mechatronics student. I'm a federal work study student, and I'm also a brand ambassador for the university.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Kevin McFall. I am an associate professor of mechatronics here on the Marietta campus.
I'm so excited to have y'all here. Ben's been here already. This is his second time on Facebook Live. So Jordan, watch out because I think Ben might be taking your spot.
I can never know.
Ben's like, I can't do it. I'm not going to fill those shoes. But we're so glad that you guys are here. I'm going to do a little bit of news from the nest, as I said earlier. And we're just going to talk about some things that are going on here in the admissions office, on campus. And one of the first things that's always exciting to hear is for spring, summer, and fall of 2021, we are actually not requiring SAT or ACT for incoming students. So whether you are a freshman coming in, or if you are going to be a dual enrollment student, maybe you're a transfer freshman, we won't require you to take the SAT or ACT. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to take it. If you decide, you know what, I still want to try to take one of the tests, go ahead and do that. But just know, for admission for spring, summer, and fall, you're not required to have your SAT or ACT. So those are just a little bit of admission requirement changes for the upcoming year. Another thing is, and we're really excited about this, is we have in-person tours back. We started in-person tours back this past week on the 14th, which is so wonderful. We had great responses from students and families. They want to feel that sense of normalcy in air quotes, but back on campus. So we are
come see this lab.
Come see this lab, exactly. We are making sure that we are socially distanced. We've made our tours much, much, much smaller than normal. So if you're interested in coming on a campus tour, please come and sign up for one. You can do at visit.kennesaw.edu. We have campus tours on the Kennesaw campus, which is north of us, and down here at our Marietta campus. So we definitely want you to come on a campus tour. I will tell you, coming on a campus tour is an amazing opportunity to just see what an institution has to offer. And to tell you the truth, the Marietta campus is one of the best campuses ever. So if you get a chance to come down to Marietta, take a tour. Even if you're not, say, an engineering major or a computer science major, just tour the Marietta campus because you may have to take a class down here one day. So definitely come down, take a campus tour with us. We would love to see you in person. We would love for our students to see all the great things that KSU has to offer, both at Kennesaw and at Marietta. Another thing that's coming up is our spring deadline. So November 20th, we have spring deadline, which means that if you're interested in coming for spring, whether you are a freshman, maybe you graduated in May of this year, you took a semester off, but you're thinking, hey, I want to come back to school. Maybe you're a transfer student, non-traditional student, my favorite, my dual enrollment students. Maybe you want to take some classes in the spring. The deadline's November 20th. The application is already available for you, so go ahead. Don't wait until the deadline to apply. Apply as early as possible. KSU is rolling admissions, meaning that we accept students throughout the year. So make sure that you get your application in, get your documents in. Once again, take a campus tour, all of that. November 20th is our deadline. And then another thing I want to talk about is for our incoming freshmen for fall of 2021. I know that sounds like it's a far way off, but really this year's gone by really fast. So we opened up our application for fall 2021 August 1st for our freshmen, and we have a priority deadline of November 2nd. And you're thinking, well, what's the point of doing the priority deadline? Why do I need to apply early? Well, it gives you an opportunity to get an admissions decision pretty early. You can sign up for or do your scholarship application, which is always really important for our students. Housing and orientation will open up historically, usually December, January. So if you've been accepted to KSU, you get to sign up for orientation and you get to sign up for housing pretty early. And there's just so many other opportunities. Once again, campus tours, ease of knowing the college process. When I was a recruiter and I was out, I would always tell students, apply early. You need to know where you want to go, usually around, I give them February, March. So the earlier you apply, the better, because by the time you get to the spring semester of your senior year of high school, there's so many other things that you've got to do. So knowing where you're going to go to college just kind of eases that burden for you. So apply early, apply to that priority deadline. It's non-binding for you. So just get the opportunity, and I promise you, you're going to fall in love with KSU. The other thing I want to talk about is just some of our info sessions. So our transfer team is ramping up their info sessions. Those are all going to be virtual. I'm doing my dual enrollment info sessions. I have one on Monday, the 21st at 6 p.m. So if you are interested in dual enrollment, maybe you know somebody that wants to do dual enrollment, which is you're a high school student taking college level classes, then join me on the 21st of this month from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. so you get to hang out with me for another hour. So that's a little bit of my news from the nest. And we're going to talk about, one, where we are. Once again, we're in the Mechatronics Lab, and it's really cool. You guys can't see everything, but it's awesome, and it's so wonderful, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So I will let you guys kind of tell me what is mechatronics and all of its glory.
Cool. Well, Ben, you've been around mechatronics for 1 year. What
Yes.
would you say? How would you tell a high school kid what mechatronics means?
So mechatronics, to me, is just a combination of different engineering. So you're going to learn mechanical, electrical, and computer engineering aspects that kind of tie into this major. I describe it as robotics is one of the things you can do with mechatronics, but that's essentially what mechatronics is to me.
Yeah, totally. And it's definitely true that it brings together the mechanical aspects, the electrical aspects, the programming aspects, but it's really more than just bringing together three fields. It's really integrated. It's a lot about the system integration. How do you put all those things together? And it's really about automation. So a lot of our students go out and get jobs in industrial automation, in robotics, mobile robotics. There's this really cool company called Greensy that they're working on making these automatic, autonomous lawnmowers. A couple of our graduates are working developing software and intelligent software for them. But yeah, it's really about putting together those different pieces for automating different tasks. I mean, today. Every company is looking for sort of cross-functional teams. That's sort of the buzzword, and it really puts you, in the driver's seat for that because, no system is purely mechanical anymore. You've got electrical components to it. You've got different pieces that you need to integrate in, and no software, for the most part, is purely software anymore. With Internet of Things and robotics and all those, you have to be able to live at that interface of all these different technologies, and that's what mechatronics gives you.
What would you say, because we talked to Ben a little bit about this, but can you give a little bit of your background and
Sure.
how you got to the place that you are a professor and teaching students about mechatronics and the greatness of it?
Yeah, I mean, I wound all around. I didn't know about mechatronics until I got this job myself. It's not a widely known program, and we're one of the only, I think there's maybe 6 or 7 mechatronics programs that are accredited in the whole country, and we're the biggest that I'm aware of. So I didn't know about that either. And so all my degrees are actually all in mechanical engineering, but I've sort of made that transition. I got into artificial intelligence and working with neural networks, and most all of my research is in computer vision and software and AI. And so, I had that mechanical background. I'd been working in software and AI. And so I was a natural fit, for coming into this position. And I'll tell you, it just really grabbed me when I came here. And I was like, this is so cool, where you're working with these robots, you're making them move, you're seeing stuff happen. It's just a really exciting field to work in, real fun and creative and interesting.
Nice. So I know a lot of times, Ben talked about this, there's, you work with robots, but And you mentioned a little bit more, but can you tell us like exactly like what other things can you do that's not just robotics that students
Sure.
can use in mechatronics?
Well, you know, to be honest, you know, most of our graduates are not working in purely robotics. I mean, you might see those videos from Boston Dynamics with the little Spot mini robot that goes around, or that big humanoid one, Atlas, where everyone's joking that, you know, they push him over with the broomstick and he stands up and stuff. I don't know if you've seen those videos. But actually, there's not, you know, there are jobs in that, but actually more of the jobs are like with this system that's behind us. And, you know, just basically every company that makes anything is looking to automate a lot of their processes. And this thing is called a flexible manufacturing system here that's behind us. And all of the equipment that's on there is all basically industry standard. You know, this FANUC robot here, you'll see that in lots, you know, car manufacturing plants and that sort of thing. And all of the different pneumatics and the programmable logic controllers and all the pieces there, you'll see them. If you ever get a tour of any sort of manufacturing plant, you'll see the same brands and the same stuff that's in there. And so we're talking about, you know, when you've got a human operator that is, you know, moving something from one conveyor to another. How do you do that automatically? How do you do that autonomously? We've had student projects with a local company called EpiBreads, and they make bread. And there's, you know, this one person where they roll in racks of bread, and they have to, the human pulls this rack off of this tray and sets it on a conveyor and goes in the oven. And we had a student project where they built a robot, kind of like that FANUC, and it automatically would sense where the racks are, pull them off, and put them on the tray. And that company is really interesting. They talk a lot about robotics sort of taking over jobs and that sort of thing. But what's interesting in that company, they, you know, a lot of the people that work there, they would come through there and sort of they have a lot of turnover. So there was a lot of people that would come and go in that type of job. And so what their plan was to cut their staff by, I don't know, I can't remember if it was 20 or 30% or something like that. But they were going to take care of that in normal, you know, just normal attrition. And the money that they would save, they would go and actually pay the folks there more. And so they could, you know, be able to automate things, do it more efficiently, be able to support the people that that wanted to stay there with more money and still automate. So there's just tons and tons of examples here in the Atlanta metro area and around Georgia that want to automate some process that they're doing, and our students are really well positioned for doing that.
That's awesome. Ben, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but can you tell people why you chose mechatronics and why you chose KSU for that?
Yeah, Ben,
Well,
tell us.
the main reason I chose KSU was for mechatronics, but the ultimate decision in choosing mechatronics was I was interested in engineering since I don't know how long, but I didn't really quite just want mechanical. I wanted something more than that, and I didn't quite want like electrical or anything. So I just found a combination of everything that integrates everything, and then I feel like everything. Like Professor McFall was saying, everything's moving towards that anyways, integration of different systems. So I think it set me up better to do this major rather than mechanical or something else that I may not have been as interested in.
Yeah, and I would say if you go onto our website for engineering for mechatronics specifically, Ben is kind of highlighted there. He's got a little spotlight on him, so make sure you guys read that and shout out Ben on Instagram and everything, because he's kind of, you know, he's becoming a rising star when it comes to this program, so that's awesome.
Great students in the program, I'll tell you.
We do. We've got some students in the back. I know that they are probably trying to hide from us, but we've got some students in the back as well, and they're working on different things and incoming freshmen. Can you then talk a little bit about your experience freshman year and maybe this space in general?
So freshman year, I used this space in my intro course, and so in that course, we learned basically the bare basics about mechatronics, and in that course, we actually built robots that I had to compete against my peers and to do different tasks and stuff, but that really gave me the foundation for the classes that I'm taking now, and it gave me the interest to keep pushing in this major more. So it really just helped build up, this lab especially helped build up my interest in the major and helped me get foundation in those classes that I'm taking now.
And I'll tell you, you know, these guys back there that are hiding from us, you know, this is our open lab hours for them to come in and get some extra time. But they're freshmen. These guys are in their very first semester at KSU. And like Ben, many of them have never touched a robot before, never done anything. It's not like we don't expect that you are, know all this stuff. We'll teach you that. And in your very first semester, you're over there, you're building a robot, you're programming it, you're testing it, from in your very first semester. It's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we can get students going from the very beginning on that.
Yeah, when I walked in, I was like, this is really cool. And Ben was like, yeah, this is like freshman students are doing this. And I'm like, first of all, as a freshman, when I was in college, I was not building robots. I was like, what accounting class am I going to take? So this is, it's a really great opportunity for students to kind of get hands-on experience. And I think it's one of the reasons why I love Marietta and being on campus is because you get to see just really neat things. And I always say our Marietta students are always so excited to show off what they're doing. Because when I would do tours, students are like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And it's like, they're so excited. And they just want you to know what great things we're doing and genuinely want you to know. So I think it's great. And that's one of the reasons why I love being at the Marietta campus, because of just the students down here and what you guys are doing down here, which is really cool.
Yes.
We love it. It's great fun.
I love Marietta.
So can you talk a little bit, I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit more, but can we talk about, once again, what is unique about this program? And kind of talk a little bit about maybe some of the curriculum that a freshman maybe we experience that, a junior might experience. So sorry, Ben, you're kind of out, you're in the middle of that.
Yeah.
But can we talk a little bit about that? And you can also talk about your, what you're doing right now as a sophomore.
Well, what's unique is we got all the toys, as you can tell. We got all this stuff. It's really interesting, too, because a lot of the other programs, say electrical or mechanical, they'll be working on a project and they'll do something, really deep in their field, but then they'll want to sort of connect it or they'll want to do something else or different with it. And so we get a lot of people coming to us and wanting to collaborate with us. We offer this robotics programming certificate that we offer together with computer science. And so, we work together with computer science. That's actually in a totally different college. So what's really unique about this is that we bring together people from all different places, from engineering, from computing, and it's just really cool that you can bring all that together. Now, what I'll say is that, in the progression through the program, you're working with these robots and you're building them, from scratch and programming them. And what's really cool is that there's different types of robotic systems, and the ones that you work on here, this VEX robotic systems, they abstract away a lot of the details. You don't have to do the programming sort of drag and drop stuff. You don't have to write code. You can if you want. And then things like the motors, all the connections are made. Actually the plugs are actually made where you can't put them in the wrong direction. So it's sort of some of the details you don't have to worry about them with that sort of robotic system. So then you move into your sophomore year, which Ben is in, and I was just talking to him. He's planning next semester to take this class, Intermediate Programming for Mechatronics. And in that, they'll use a different type of microcontroller. The one that they use as freshmen is really simple, and it's made even for middle and high school students to use, as well as early college. But then we'll get into an Arduino. And an Arduino is a little bit more complicated. You have to be a little more worried about how you put the power in and how you plug things in. So you have to learn more of the details. Yeah. Then in your junior year, you'll go on and you'll start working with more complicated robots. You'll have to use this robot operating system, and you'll work even in more sophisticated programming languages. So what's interesting is as you go through the program, it starts to lay bare more and more of the details and force you to get more into, well, how does an encoder really work? And what is a motor controller and how do we make that happen? And you don't have to worry about that with the freshman engineering kit. But as you go farther in, you get in those details. And by the time you graduate in the fourth year, you're working on this system. In our instruments and controls class, you come in here, you have to program these PLCs, programmable logic controllers, and then you get into all the really meat and potatoes details that by the time you graduated, you're ready to go out there and work in any of these automation jobs that are just all over the place in the area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've experienced that quite a bit myself. Like in my very first freshman class, I did take this course. And I built a whole robot, but now we're getting into, like Professor McFall said, the details. So like, for example, like we did some electrical stuff with motors, but now I'm taking a circuits class, so I'm learning circuit analysis, so how a circuit actually works and how these different things actually function. So that'll set me up for success later on in my major and my career in the future. So
it's almost kind of like a building blocks. It's not like we thrust you out and you just have to like figure it out. Like you said, you don't do that. You give them the opportunities to learn it, but like it's kind of like building blocks where you start with this and then you go into this particular thing. So that way, in the end, you have the opportunities, you know, when you're in your job that you know how to do these things and not just kind of like guessing at it, which is
exactly.
And that's one of the interesting things with engineering is that, you know, all your classes build on each other. You got to take calculus, and you know you're not going to survive in physics. You can't understand physics until you do calculus, and you can't do the circuits class he's in without the physics. And then you can't do your electronics stuff without the circuits. And it all really builds on in itself, and you know the program's really built in a specific way to build you up and build you up. And one of the things, really, like just I was having a conversation with Ben, and he's like, man, I'm looking back a year ago. I didn't know anything, and it's like, holy cow, how I grew in a year. You know, it's amazing what you can absorb in that time.
Yeah, and I remember the excitement I had just to build the robot, and now I can't imagine the progression from this time last year to now. It's pretty crazy, and I can only imagine myself junior, senior year, because I've seen some of what the juniors and seniors have done, and I can't imagine doing anything close to what they're doing now. But I know I'm going to have to be there eventually, and this program's going to build me up to that point.
That's really cool. Can you talk a little bit about, do y'all do any type of competitions as mechatronics majors that you can participate in and get involved in?
Yeah, so our freshman course was actually, my freshman course was actually a competition against the people in my lab. So we built the robots that competed on the, you probably can't see the course, but there's a course.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. You know. It's in front of us right now. But we competed and we had to stack blocks. We created robots to stack blocks and to put balls in these elevated cups. And I competed against my peers. And then we talked throughout the semester and tried to build each other up, even if we were competing against each other, so everyone could be successful. So that was one of the competitions for mechatronics, and I know there's other competitions for the some of the other engineering majors on the campus.
Well, I can jump in there and tell you that you know, it's funny. I'll say this, that you know, some of the things we offer here at KSU that are the most useful for the students are actually the student organizations, and there's a ton of competition teams, and actually, you know, the training that you get working in these student organizations is actually in some ways more meaningful than what we do in the classroom, you know, and that's kind of heretical to hear that from a professor. But you know, the co-curricular activities are so important. And so those are some of the blocks he was talking about stacking.
Love it. These are so cool.
But you know, there's the VEX Robotics competition team where there's we compete every year in the world championship, you know, with this stuff. We have, you know, the aerial robotics team with drones. We have the electric vehicle team. We've got the underwater autonomous vehicle team. We've got a ton of different competition teams that are, you know, what we call co-curricular activities, that they're not part of your classes, but they're student organizations. And I'm the faculty advisor for a couple of these, but I'm just a rubber stamper. It's amazing, you know, these students, they plan it all. They plan a budget. They pitch you know, to the alumni who fund them. They make business plans, they design from the beginning, they build it, they test it, they go in the competitions, and you know, our electric vehicle team placed first place in the world championship last year. So those experiences are invaluable. So when you come to college, sure, the courses are important, the degree means something, but there's all these other things that go on around the coursework that is just an amazing opportunity that you get when you're here.
That's really cool.
Absolutely.
So you talked about students can get a robotics certificate along with their degree. Are there other minors or other certificates that students can tack on to kind of make their resume bigger for themselves?
Yeah. You know, if you choose actually to not be a mechatronics student, you can study electrical or mechanical engineering if that's where you want your strength, but there is a mechatronics minor. So you can get a minor in mechatronics, and actually you can double count a lot of the courses in the minor towards your technical electives. But But then we just launched this fall a biomedical engineering minor.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we've got that. A lot of our students in mechatronics are interested in sort of like mechatronic prosthetics or exoskeleton type stuff that sort of fits in that biomedical engineering side. We're about to relaunch our renewable energy minor. We have a bunch of minors in industrial engineering and quality control. So there's a whole slew of different minors. And like I said, most of the different engineering programs have some technical electives. So even though a minor might be 15 or 16 credits, many of them can actually count as your technical electives. Maybe you're only taking 2 or 3 extra classes. And then that comes as a qualification on your transcript to say, hey, I'm not just deep in this field here, but I've got an understanding about these other things too.
Yeah, I think that's important to kind of, in a way, diversify your program. Because I know some students, you get stuck in this one thing. And I think the cool thing about engineering and the STEM fields are that you kind of are learning so many different things, and you're not just focused on one, because you kind of have to have a good general background of everything.
Right. Sure.
So.
And another thing I would push really hard is doing an internship or a co-op.
Yeah.
Because that gets you really good practical experience. What is it like to be an engineer? What do they do every day? Do I want to be a sales engineer? Do I want to be a design engineer? Do I want to be a field engineer? And going and working for a company, getting that experience and seeing what happens out there in the real world. And I'll tell you, I just met yesterday with this a company called Freedom Electronics, and they're like, we hired one of your students as an intern. They're awesome. We need 3 more. Get me in touch with these guys guys and girls so they can come out and start working with us. So that's a really great opportunity too. And we have got a lot of connections with local industry and can help you get placed in an internship or co-op.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will say, students, as the year, once you're at KSU, or even students who are watching this and they're current KSU students, we do have our career planning and development. They were on last week. But go to one of the fairs that we offer, whether it's major specific for you, or if it's just in general, like a large one where we have all different companies and it's not major specific, because you never know what they're looking for their company. So I would definitely encourage students, as you're a KSU student, when those things pop up, that you get involved in them, because you never know, it can land internships or co-ops, which are a little bit longer, or even jobs after graduation. So definitely encourage students to do that.
Absolutely.
I think we had our career fair, our STEM career fair, this week, if I'm not mistaken. And we have one every semester. That students can go out, and it was virtual this year, obviously.
Yes.
The students can go out and meet these companies. And I was looking through it. I didn't attend myself, but in the spring I plan on attending. I was looking through it, and it's open to all levels. So like freshmen coming in, you can attend these fairs too, and get internships or even like just experience and see what these companies are looking for future years, to see what you might want to specialize in, or see what interests you and what these companies are looking for.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen freshmen get placed in internships. It was really cool. We have every semester we have our senior design with the students that are graduating. They show off their senior project, and we invite folks from industry. And I had one of my freshmen had volunteered to come and ferry these groups around and bring them to the different projects. And he just started up a conversation with these folks that were there, and he landed himself an internship, with the folks from this company that were there on this tour, and set himself up with an internship in his freshman year. So there's a lot of opportunities that we can offer for you guys.
So put yourself out there, because you just
Yes.
never know. Like, be friendly, be open.
Yes.
Yep.
Just talk about the things that you're doing, because I'm pretty sure he was just excited to probably talk about those things and didn't
Exactly.
realize that opportunity would come to him.
Yep.
So
Just
that's
fell
really
right
cool.
out of the sky for him.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit more about, I know we mentioned it, but can we talk a little bit more about career opportunities for students? Maybe some of our repeat companies that our students tend to either gravitate towards, or that they want our students because of their background in this degree.
Sure. Like I said, at least in the mechatronics program, the overwhelming majority of our jobs are in this industrial automation space. And basically, we teach you, these programmable logic controllers and some of the technology, especially with this stuff. And I basically tell students, you're guaranteed when you graduate with mechatronics engineering degree, there's a bazillion of these PLC field service jobs. And so there's just many of them. So there's lots of companies looking for that. And they're not necessarily ones that you've heard of. One of the big companies that's hired a ton of our students is Vanderlande. They do sort of the conveyor belt systems for airports. So they've hired, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 of our grads in the last 3 years. And then we have some other companies, like I said, Freedom Electronics I mentioned, they hire a ton of our students. Applied Technical Services is a company that's actually funded by old Southern Poly graduates. But the companies around here, we've been here on this campus for 72 years now. Mm-hmm. So we've had a presence and we have a track record of graduating really, really solid, engineers for a long time. And all of the local industry, they know us very well. And they know what our students, they know that our faculty come from, have industry experience, which is a bit different than most universities. Essentially, every one of our faculty in the college has, 2 or 3 or more years of working as an engineer. So in many ways, they know what it's like to get out there and be a junior engineer and working. So all of the companies around know that we've got that, that background. And they know that our students are ready on day one to go out there and start working and doing practical stuff. So, we place most of our students locally in these places, but we send students to SpaceX and Lockheed Martin and some of the big name places too. There's opportunities to go for that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Ben, when it comes to internships and co-ops? And I know we talked about this last time, but kind of your goal after graduation.
So far, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with my career path, because there's so many options with this major, and that's one of the reasons I like this so much. But yeah, I'm gonna start looking at internships probably more so next semester, and then just see what companies are looking for, and then so I can specialize and maybe even pick up a minor or some sort of certificate that'll help me even more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've been kind of looking around, and one thing that's caught my eye was the robotic arm. And so can y'all talk a little bit about that? Is that a senior project, or is this something that's just a part of curriculum? Can y'all talk a little bit about that? Or know any details about that?
So this particular arm here, this is what I said, it's a FANUC, that's the brand name for that one. And then in the next room over, we have some larger Kawasaki arms. I mean, they're big. I mean, they're 400-pound payload arms. Yeah. And there is some opportunity in the program to work on them. I know I mentioned already the instruments and controls course. They do a lab or two working on the conveyor system and the robots over there. And the biggest time that students work on those robotic arms are mostly in their senior projects if they choose to work on there. But we do also, in the senior year, there's a course, Robotic Analysis and Synthesis. And we have a smaller arm. It's a tabletop arm. And it's what we call a cobot. These guys here are more for industrial applications and being able to have very heavy payloads. So they're pretty strong, and you got to be a little more careful about using them because they can damage stuff or hurt people. Yeah. But this cobot, it has sensors in it that know if it's pushing up against something. So it's a lot safer to be working with it. It still works on the same principles. It's what we call a 7-axis robot, which basically means there's 7 different places that it can move. And so basically you can get into any orientation. So we have a whole course, this robotic analysis and synthesis, where all semester long you're working with that robotic arm. You're programming it. You're trying to figure out, if I want the end of it to be here and go to there, how do I arrange the different joints to get and follow that path? So you're definitely getting that robotic experience, and then for the folks that want to do it for their senior design, they'll choose that. One of my favorite projects we had last fall, the students brought sort of like a miniature-sized pool table, and they put a cue stick on the end of the robotic arm, and they programmed it to automatically be able to hit a pool ball, hit the cue, and knock the balls in the pocket. and it had, camera looking down to be able to see where the balls were, to know where the cue ball was, and then sort of plan, what angle does it need to go in. And they even made it so that it could hit the ball with different amounts of force. And they'd calculate, well, how far is the shot? How much force do I need to put in? It's really, really cool stuff.
That's really cool. Making, the robot a pool shark. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like it. When it comes to research opportunities, because I think not only the classes and doing internships and co-ops, but students also want to know about research and what students are doing here at KSU. Can you talk a little bit about research opportunities that students could go into?
Yeah, well, it's really funny you asked that, because just today I teach this freshman course, and today, the 18th, is the deadline for students to apply for the first year scholars program.
Yeah.
Okay? And so in this first year scholars program, basically the faculty are putting up they put up projects that they're working on, that there is this cutting edge research. They're getting funded from the National Science Foundation or different places to do this research. And they're looking for students to work with them. And this first year scholars program, it'll connect a freshman student. First semester, just like your first semester working on that robot, first semester you can get plugged in with a world-class faculty on their research project. There's a stipend that comes along with it. You get some money to help pay for your school. But it builds that relationship with that faculty member. It gives you that experience. How do I do a literature review? What is the state of the art in this field? And for the faculty, it gives them a chance to build this relationship early with that student, so you could work with that person through all the 4 years that you're here at KSU. And by the time you're working on you could work for 4 years on this research project and come out with all this amazing experience. Could launch you into an R&D job, could get you into a master's program. So yeah, we got the first year scholars program. We also have directed research courses that you can take for credit as your technical elective. And so again, you get yourself connected with a faculty member. And I'll tell you, this year we hired 10 new really strong research active faculty members. Last year I think we got 8 more in the college. So there's like close to 20 world-class researchers that we've hired in the last 2 years. We're really ramping up our research efforts. And they're coming from really good schools with lots of great background. Some of them are coming in already with big funded programs from National Science Foundation or National Institutes of Health. So that's something that we're really moving forward in terms of research. And the Office of Research has lots of opportunities like the First Year Scholar Program. And that's definitely something, if that's the way you want to go, we've got that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ben, I know we talked about this last time, but can you talk about kind of like your freshman year to this year and what that's been like for you, just the transition? I know you said, you didn't think that you'd be able to do these things as a freshman, but can you talk about that transition a little bit more?
So just in transition, obviously my freshman year wasn't a normal year with recent events. But the transition wasn't as big as I imagined it to be. When I saw these upperclassmen taking on these projects, I was a little bit intimidated, but coming in and taking courses like this and taking my intro programming classes and my general ed classes like my calculuses and calculus 2s, that got me up to the point I'm at now. It was it's tough though, I'm not gonna lie. Some of these classes, once you see your grades and you get knocked down a little bit, but that's only to help you build back up, right? So, because you can't do well in every test, obviously. I definitely don't do well in every test. But it only helps you build up to the point to where you can compete or to do every project basically. You can, yeah.
Well, and let me ask you sort of another question. You're like, that transition of going from high school to college is one thing, but you're now in your second year, and like in your first year of college, sure, you're taking this first intro to mechatronics course, but most of what you're taking is like math and science and these core classes. And now in your sophomore year, you're taking like your really first meat and potatoes, engineering courses, your circuit analysis 1 and your statics.
Yeah.
So what's been your experience of going and learning from sort of math and physics professors, science professors, and then moving into your engineering classes? How do you see How is that different? Did that require any sort of changing in your thinking at all, moving into those classes?
I'm starting to see it's more tailored for engineers. Originally, in my calculuses and my physics, you'll see, sometimes you'll see Kennesaw majors, you'll see different majors in those classes, but now it's getting down to just engineers. There's basically only engineers in these classes because they're engineering courses. So now I'm getting to my engineering mechanics class, statics. I'm getting the actual building blocks to become an engineer. Before it was just, I was specializing more in math and science, getting into more of a STEM area, but now I'm becoming an actual engineer with these classes I'm taking now with circuit analysis and statics and the programming classes that are helping me build up to the point where I can complete these senior projects and different things like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because even going, then going from the sophomore to the junior year, junior year you're taking more sort of the core of your major.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, it's funny because everybody talks about that transition of going from high school into college, and that's the big transition. But actually every year there's a transition. You go, like I said, freshman to sophomore, going from science to engineering. Sophomore to junior, going from basic engineering courses to your specific major courses. And then the senior year, you're doing your senior project, and you're choosing your electives, sort of have a little bit more choice in what you're doing. So it's really interesting. Every year it's a little bit different, and it is a bit of a transition. So it's interesting, that progression.
Do we have any programs for those students who are maybe in, say, middle school or high school that are interested in these fields that they could maybe look into maybe during the summer or even during the semester that they could possibly partake in so that they can see if is this the program for me or the area that I should be studying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, KSU offers a fair number of summer programs, sort of robotics or summer bridge stuff. So we offer a lot of those opportunities, but there's more just all over everywhere. A lot of high schools have these robotics competition teams, do the FIRST Robotics or VEX Robotics. But nowadays there's so many options online now. I mean, I would recommend working on stuff like those summer programs in robotics. But even just buying yourself one of these Arduino kits. You buy one of these kits for like $80, and it's got the microprocessor in there. It's got all these little electronics. It's got a circuit board, and there's so much open source material that you can learn about how to do this. And you can learn to program, learn to do all this basic circuit stuff. There's so much stuff you can just do at home even. And there's so many great tools now for learning coding. If there's any one thing that I would recommend anybody interested in technology is to do some sort of coding. Even my kid's in elementary school, and he does this thing called Code Combat. And it's like, it looks like a video game. And it feels like a video game trying to move these guys around and sort of getting your little knight to attack somebody. But you're like writing real code in Python, which is a real language. It's used for artificial intelligence programming. And there's just so many open source tools as well that doesn't really cost very much. But of course, now there's so many of these different coding academies and robotics clubs, summer programs. There's just a lot of those out there. So a lot of the high schools are doing them. Some of them are not. But there's just a lot of opportunities, and just explore it and try it and see if it's for you, because it might be, it might not. It's good to just try it out and see.
Yeah, and definitely, I'd say if you're interested in engineering or STEM majors at all, just get involved. My first, what actually got me interested in engineering, I took a class in middle school. I took an engineering class, and we played with Legos. It was Lego Mindstorm.
Yeah.
And we were programming, and we competed against other middle schools, and that got me interested. I wasn't able to do that in high school, but I took that interest all the way to college, and now I'm here building robots and studying to become an engineer. So just get involved and get interested in little projects that you're doing. Just buy the Arduino, or just go online and get like do free coding games and stuff like that to get interested.
And I'll say, one of the things I try very hard in that intro class for the freshmen is to make everyone understand that some people come with all this robotics experience, but the program is designed not at all. That's not the level. We don't expect that. We'll bring you from the ground up. We're looking for you to be ready if you can to get into calculus. If you're not, it doesn't matter. You can take trig or college algebra and get in there. You have to catch up a little bit, but it's not a problem. We're basically just ready, got some good background mathematical skills, and have a little bit of understanding of computers and how they work, maybe dabbled in something on that side, but ready to take a college level calc and ready to take a college level programming class. That's really the only requirements there are. We'll fill in all the other pieces. So I really try to emphasize to those students in that intro class, yeah, there's somebody here that's been working for 6 years building robots, but they're the weird ones. They're the ones that are sort of way ahead of the game. Our program is really targeted for those that don't have experience. So don't feel like I was not on a high school robotics team. There's no way I'm going to make it in engineering or that major. Definitely not. I mean, that's all gravy. It's great if you got it, but we'll train you from the ground up.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I would say just from my experience and my friends and my peers, the vast majority of people coming into STEM are just interested in it. That we don't have any experience, we don't have years of coding or anything like that. We're just interested. And then coming in freshman year, we have a little bit better understanding of math and science because that's what we're interested in high school. So these classes really set us up for success.
That was going to be my next question. You guys are jumping the gun here. No, but what advice would you give to those students who are just trying to figure it out and they don't really know what they might be interested in? They just know I want to do something in STEM. Like, what would you tell that student? And kind of as a professor, what would you tell a student that's in your class and trying to figure out what they want to do?
Well, first I want to ask Ben, because he's been only a year, year out of that. So how did the choice go for you? How did you make the decisions that you made?
So if I was deciding, if I know I want to be a STEM, but I don't know quite what I want to do, personally, I would just take my math and science courses, and then I would go, these labs have windows, I would go just look around. I would go talk to sophomores, I talk to juniors, I talk to other freshmen to see what their decision was and see what I was interested in. And if I took a class and I didn't like it, I can take a different class. I have plenty of time, and it's not stressful at all. It's just do a whole bunch and see what you like. Because at the end of the day, it's you. You have to take the courses. So.
And it's pretty normal for people to change their mind. I came into college thinking I wanted to be a civil engineer. And after my first year, I sort of shifted into mechanical. Every program is different slightly in the first year, but most everything is pretty common in that first year. Whether you're doing any of the engineering fields or if you're doing, chemistry or math or physics, you're all going to need calculus. Okay, you're all going to need physics 1, no matter what your major is. Probably all of them are going to need chemistry too. So there's a lot of courses in the first year that are really very common among all the STEM fields, not just engineering. And we're pretty flexible, almost exclusively, in these intro classes like this course, the Intro to Mechatronics class. Every major has their own intro class, but we'll sub them for another. If you decide, oh, I want to do electrical, then they'll substitute it. Well, don't take the electrical intro class. You did the mechatronics one. That's good enough. So you're really not going to lose very much no matter what engineering field you choose for your freshman year. Maybe at worst case you lose out on one course in that year or something, but there's so much that's common that you've got quite a little while to make that choice. And like Ben says, go try it out, peek your head in the windows, talk to people, join one of the competition teams, and get some experience there, and that can help you make your decision.
That's exactly what I was about to say. So when I was a freshman, I didn't actually participate in any of the competition teams, but I went to different meetings and different things and popped my head in, and I talked to my friends that were in these teams, and that got me interested in some of the different projects they were working on. And these teams are really good, and it's all student, and it's crazy to see how far they can come and how much they can do as just sophomores, juniors, only being here a year or two. So. Yep.
With students who are, once again, deciding on their major, when do you have to truly declare? Do you have to apply to get into the School of Engineering? Or is it just, I'm going to be a mechanical engineering major? Yeah. Do you have to apply to be accepted? Because I think we get a lot of students when I was out on the road and recruiting, well, what are the requirements to get into your program? So
right.
Can you talk about that?
None of the engineering programs at KSU are gated, what we call gated. So actually, from your point of admission, you can declare yourself as any of the engineering majors. There's no, you don't have to pass something or get whatever. So from the very beginning, you can pick. And that also means that you can switch at any time too. Yeah. So there's no, you have a lot of flexibility. There's some universities where you have to come in and you're not allowed to choose your major yet. You sort of do pre-engineering, and then you have to qualify through some gate to be able to get in. We don't have that at KSU. So you can come in, immediately choose your field, and you can change at any time. Now, so many students, they just sweat this choice of this major, like, oh my God, it's this life-altering choice. If I pick mechanical engineering now, it's going to set my whole life forever. And it's not nearly that black and white. I mean, look at me. Everything I do in my work, it's all software and machine learning and image processing. And I'm a mechanical engineer. Every single one of my degrees, even my PhD, is mechanical engineering. So the thing is that if you graduate with any engineering degree, it sets you up. What employers are mostly looking for is quantitative skills, critical thinking skills, just being able to work with numbers, being able to pay attention to detail. All those things are really the core things of what they're really looking for, those employers. So, okay, you're electrical instead of mechatronics. And yeah, it's a little different, but there's no reason why an electrical engineer. I've seen mechanical engineers go and get work for a power company and work on circuit design. So yeah, it matters what major you choose, but there's so much flexibility. You're gonna, your career path is not at all defined by these just 4 years. There's so many other things that happen down the line. There's a lot of opportunity to move. So choose the major that you're going to be the most excited about and be the most interested to work hard for, and let the chips fall where they may after that. You don't sweat it as much.
No. That's good. That's good advice. Because I was going to say, just let them sweat it out. Like, make them feel like, oh man, I got to choose something. If I don't choose it, this is it. Like, we should just tell them, that should be the course of like, you have to choose this one major, and that's it, and just see like what happens when students.
I know probably all my bosses in mechatronics engineering are like, no, you got to tell them they have to do mechatronics.
You have to do this one thing.
No, mechatronics is great. You should do mechatronics.
Do it. This is your major. As we get closer to wrapping up, what advice, Ben, would you give a student coming in to KSU?
Just any student coming into KSU, I would say work on time management. You're going to hear that from literally everybody all the time, but that is like one of the biggest things you can do in college. Time management and just prioritizing things you need to get done. And then just have fun while you're at college. Explore, try out different things. College isn't supposed to be, you're not supposed to stress your head off for 4 years. It's supposed to be a learning experience. So prioritize your time, but have fun. See what you want to do, learn your interests that'll set you up for your future and your career path.
Couldn't say that any better. That's awesome, Ben. Great advice.
I was going to say, do you have any advice for your students
That's
coming
exactly
in?
the types of things I would say. Yeah. You just, high school is a little different. Your hands held a little bit more. You got to, pay attention. People give you reminders more. You just time management. Make sure you pay attention to details, and you'll be just fine.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for, one, allowing us to use the space because it is really awesome. And once again, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit the Marietta campus, come visit, come swing by a lab and see all the cool things. Don't touch anything. So just come and swing by and look inside, peep inside, all that good stuff. And once again, thank you guys for coming and just talking to us and experiencing this. Once again, Ben, we're so thankful to have you not only be on Facebook Live, but then also work with enrollment services because you are excellent and you're really cool. And thank you so much for just giving your wisdom because I feel like you just, I can tell that you really love what you do and love teaching our students. Yeah. So I thank you for that.
Totally my pleasure.
I love it. Well, thank you guys again for watching Facebook Live. We'll be back again. And we always end all of our Facebook Lives with the Hooty Hoo. We usually cross them, but social distance. Yep. So we'll just put them right in front of our face. Well, Hooty Hoo, guys.
All right.
Hooty Hoo.